you need to commit. This isn't 99%. Like, this is 99% is not committed.
It was like a light switch, just that instant of a change in my life.
Each one reach one, we're all on the same path. The greatest prayer we can offer is how we live our daily life.
We don't go around obstacles. We go through them.
Welcome back to the Tim Teaches podcast. I'm your host, Tim McCoy. Today I have the privilege of hosting Carlos Duran, founder of Savage Encounter, and joining him is Ryan Carey. He's the founder of Operation Purify. Both these are ayahuasca retreats. They're helping men. And today we're just going to jump into how these guys got into this, how they're helping people. And man, thank you guys for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
My
pleasure to be here.
I guess I'd probably start with you, Carlos. You're the first dude that popped up on my feed, and I was like, man, I got to talk to this guy. He's helping guys, and also you guys are helping veterans, and so that's my jam. So I kind of like to know just like a little bit about Savage Encounter, but also how the hell you got into this stuff from both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much, dude, for having us here. Thank you to you who's listening, watching. Appreciate your time. And we hope that this is an opportunity for you to learn and gain something of value in your life. My story is a long story. I've told it a lot of times. For anybody that wants the details, you can find it on my YouTube page. It's probably the easiest page to find it on. Long story short, I've been working with a plant medicine culture. It's called Yahed. In Western terms, this is the Colombian brew or culture of the ayahuasca culture, which ayahuasca is a big general term. 13 years ago, I had the opportunity to sit on a mountainside with this little Bruce Lee looking indigenous dude who ended up being my teacher for the last 13 years. That's the long, short story of it. It was never my intention to be a plant medicine guide. I never saw myself in that role. I've never had a big vision in the journey that showed me that was my thing to do. No. It's just something that happened as I was seeking purpose, as I was praying for purpose, as I was assigning myself purpose. Over the years, I just drank, and learned and deepened in the culture, deepened in the service of the culture. And a point in time came where my teacher had the proverbial get on your way or start cleaning the bathrooms talk with me and my spiritual older brother, John Freddy. Kind of like the older brother's like, okay, there's younger kids in the house now. What are you guys going to do with everything we've deposited in you? And so we sat and we drank medicine, and this idea of Savage Encounter was born. And we'll talk about what that did in a little bit. But through Savage Encounter, we've had the opportunity to connect with Ryan Carey. And from that connection then was born Operation Purify. So what we have based on almost 2 decades, and if you combine John Freddy's and my experience with plant medicine, plus Ryan Carey's experience with dealing with veterans, being a veteran himself, and being very prominent in the space of dealing with brain injuries and brain trauma, you have over 4 decades, 40 years worth of experience. And so we've created these containers. Savage Encounter is an opportunity for men where we come back to nature, we release our shame, our guilt. It's a big container. We do 3 weeks of online prep work before we even come into the jungle together. Then we're in the jungle for 11 days. We have 3 Yahed ceremonies. But beyond the plant medicine, the experience in and of itself is designed to help us to reconnect with our inner child, to release our shame, to even connect with the feminine aspects of ourselves that every healthy man needs: creativity, compassion. And then we have 5 weeks of an integration container when the men go home. The veterans retreat is very similar to that, except it's 14 days and it's open to both men and women. And then everybody has the forever together. Thank God for technology. We have this forever group, the Brotherhood for the men and the Operation Purify group for the veterans. And there we are, brother. Like, that's it in a nutshell. But what's the purpose of it? is to help wounded humans. Raise your hand, right?
That's me. That's me.
You know, and we carved out the people that we can best focus on, which are men and veterans, based on the group of individuals that we have working on our side, right? What's our specialty? Where can we focus? So we help bring veterans back from mind, body, and spirit. We help men release shame, guilt, reconnect to their inner child, and feel free to live a life full of fulfillment. That's the strength of it.
So for people who have never even heard of ayahuasca, can you kind of give the short version of what is this medication that people are taking in the jungle?
Yeah, you know, I think the first thing to say is if you don't know anything about ayahuasca, don't go look online. I mean, there's so much bad information, like really bad information out there compared to how much of it is actually real and true. And but real simple, it is a natural plant therapy. It's been around for 5,000 years. It is a leaf, and in most cultures, some of the cultures add other herbs, but in most cultures, it's a leaf and a vine, and they're boiled together through one process to another, and they're used in a ritual, in a ceremony. Traditionally, it's always in a ceremony. And that's all it is, right? If you want to get a little bit more to the science of it, it has this molecule called DMT, which is actually supposed to be present in all our foods when the mineral levels are optimal in the soil. And you find that the human being has DMT receptors. We are made to connect with the DMT molecule and download that information.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty doing ayahuasca myself. I mean, yeah, it's a drink. You take it and you connect with another spirit. You connect with spirit, man, for me. And it's an experience that is extremely hard to explain to people if they've never done it. But I mean, for me, I jumped on the call earlier with Ryan, and I was telling him a bit about myself, and it's the most incredible thing you could ever do for yourself if you're dealing with PTSD or anxiety, depression, or if you just want to connect with yourself and connect with your higher power. I mean, it kind of checks all the boxes for me. It's not a recreational drug. Definitely wouldn't recommend that. But how about you, Ryan? How'd you get into this?
Oddly enough, I grew up in a very small town in Canada, like probably any small town USA, right? Small town, born on the water, lots of farms around. Played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, track and field in the spring, and then tried not to get into too much trouble in the summer. But I grew up with a father who served in the U.S. Marines and served 2 tours in Vietnam.
Wow.
From 65 to 69, infantry. He was in Quezon. He was at the Tet Offensive. And so grew up with that in a small town. So that was an interesting experience because we all know how Vietnam veterans were treated. And so I say that because it was a friend of mine who I grew up with in that small town, who I never would have thought in a million years would be spiritual or drink yahe or drink ayahuasca or whatever. And, you know, I was kind of at my wit's end with things, and he had invited a bunch of people down to kind of do a weekend spiritual retreat where we meditated and we did a bunch of different things. And it's the first time I heard someone say, have you ever thought of going to try ayahuasca? And I'm like, what is that? How do you pronounce it? How do you spell it? So he said that you and I had this conversation earlier, that he says, well, I've gone to Rhythmia many times, and so I actually, you know, made an investment. I said, this is it. This is my last, this is it. Like, I lost my family. I'd gone through all the medications that the VA had provided, psychology, everything. And I was doing so well. I think I had around the 80 to 90% solution, but man, that 10% was, yeah, it was fleeting. It was hard to find. So talk about investment. I didn't have the money, but I went and I took out a line of credit and I got flights and I booked Rhythmia and I went there. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. What was the most eye-opening experience was the last night. I didn't know the difference between ayahuasca and yahe at the time, but the last night, it was not only the power of the medicine, but it was the ceremony that surrounded it. It was very primal for me. It got right to my soul. It got right to my heart as a veteran, as a warrior, it really spoke to me in that regards. And after that experience, I was like, I want that again. I want more of that. Like, I needed more, I was disappointed. I wanted more of a preparation. I wanted some integration. I was struggling just being back home on my own. And so I started looking around on YouTube, and there's this Buddha looking fella. And because I didn't know what yahe was, and I found it was, Taita Juanito with the Finca Ambawasi. So I started watching YouTube videos, and I liked the way Carlos was intently translating all the stuff that was going on. So I kind of started my dive into that. A few months later, I was watching a podcast and Carlos was on it. And he said, near the end, he said, by the way, we're having a yahe retreat for men called Savage Encounter. There's a preparation, there's an integration. It just right away, I'm like, I have to go on that. So pretty quickly, Carlos got on the phone with me, and I think he was going to Home Depot or something. And it was like, okay, what's up? Are you in? I'm like, I'm in. I go, but I can't, I'm in Canada. How do I get you money? He said, don't worry about it. Just, are you in? You're in? Okay, we'll figure the money out. So that's where I started. Started the preparation. Went out, had an incredible experience, and it was halfway into that experience. Can you hear that rolling around? Sorry,
Nope.
Give me 1 second. My cat's going to walk. Okay. There we go. Nice little pause there. It was into that in that at Savage Encounter where I stopped and looked at Carlos one time. We were just having a conversation. I'm like, have you ever thought of doing that for veterans? And he's like, this look on his face. He's like, we actually have, So what I was impressed at was right away was how fast that they put the plan together. 14 days, 4 ceremony. They had it all planned out, and right away, let's just do it. Let's just go ahead and do it. Veterans need it. Let's do it. Let's get it done. Put a team together, and we ran so that would have been I met Carlos in January of 2023. And I think our first Operation Purify was that July or August. Is that correct, Carlos? And we just did it. And that we had there was veterans from Australia, the US, Canada, Colombia. We had Israeli Defense Force. And so, yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, like what was the vibe the first time you have all these veterans there? And I mean, coming into it, veterans, we all get along, but they're, we're a lot of guys come in with this, especially if they're dealing with issues, they come in kind of puffed up. And I'm kind of curious, like the beginning of that retreat and the end of it, like what's the difference?
The beginning of that retreat, there was none of that for whatever reason. There was just, everyone was there on their own journey to heal, and everyone was supportive of everybody else. I mean, what you're talking about not only happens in veteran retreats, it happens in the men's retreats. It's mostly men with their egos and they're puffed up and all these things. So but that's yeah.
The 3 weeks that we do prior to that, where everybody is online, getting to know each other, really transforms that energy, because you've already spent 3 weeks. You're an average of an hour and 15 to an hour and a half per session, getting to know these individuals, their stories, why they're coming. And by the time that you've done the 3 weeks of online prep, everybody's really clear that I'm going there to work on my healing.
Mhm.
And what they stress right away, right off the bat, hey, if that person's vibrating something in you, that's your problem.
Mhm. Yep.
They're dealing with something. Be there and support. Don't let that, throw you off. Oh, that's a whole journey in itself right there, not letting that throw you off. But I mean, I just think that is part of it, part of the human condition, whether they're veterans or not. But I also think that there's sometimes maybe even less of that in the veteran community, because by the time you're going there, it's not an easy, like you got to make a decision and a commitment to go. I mean, you got to get your passport. It's like you're deploying again. You go into a place, it's a different country, it's a different language. There's the jingle trucks. There's different. You feel like you're deploying again, right? There's the preparation. Then you get on site, and when you're there, you're not stuck in front of your TV. You don't have your family around. You're just there, and it's the stuff that comes outside of the medicine, that, because everyone focuses on the medicine. What's it like? It's powerful. Of course it is. It'll give you what you need. But some of the most the biggest lessons I've learned on those retreats is when we're just sitting around the Maloka, having like just talking about ceremony, or talking about life, and veterans or men asking Carlos, how do you interpret this? This happened to me. And sometimes those are, hey, this happened to me, but I wasn't in the medicine. It was just, I was by the creek and this butterfly food, like what's going on with this, right? So there's a lot in that 14 days. And of course, Carlos and John Freddy are the experts in that, and I leave them to answer those questions. And what I like to focus on is, hey, what are you doing to prepare? And when you get back, what are you doing to integrate? Because you can spend 14 days in the jungle and have the most incredible experience, and you can come back and go back to your old ways, and it's just going to all fall apart. However, if that happens, come back and drink moriarty, because sometimes that's part of the experience too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's part of the learning. It's not a, but I really focus on that, because I think I see it in both worlds. I see it not only in the plant medicine world, but in the brain injury world, where I'm dealing with veterans, where you need to commit. This isn't 99%. Like, this is 99% is not committed.
Yeah, I think the pre and post integration is super important, because I've been to Rhythmia 3 times and I love what they're doing. It's a fantastic operation. And my first time was with Taida, and boy, was that shocking. On that Thursday night, the first 3 nights, yeah, they were wild, but Thursday was off the hook. And but you come home and it's like, okay, now I'm kind of on my own. And we have little text threads with some people, but having a community of like-minded men that you guys can bounce stuff off of each other and help support each other, I think that's really important.
It's super important. Community, even in the from the point of view of the culture, community is one of the pillars that we have to grow from. We draw nourishment from our community, and one of the ailments or the diseases that the ancestors teach we have in the Western world is this foreign connection or foreign relationship to community. We're very isolated, even within our own families. We tend to practice isolation instead of openness. We tend to focus on reasons why to ostracize family members or ourselves from our family, rather than to look for the commonalities that would draw us together and foster and nourish harmony. And so community is something that we get to choose, but we have to be a part of it, and you have to have your heart open to it. And when you go through one of these experiences, like you said, Tim, you connect to like-minded people who have a like-minded heart, is what we're really saying. And then you have that heart connection. Because to go back to one of the things you said at the beginning, which was, what is this experience like? And it is difficult to describe. But when you share it with someone, you do create a sense of community, and then you can nourish that. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about our veterans group and our men's group is that the community does continue to grow. These guys do continue to show up for each other. They visit one another. And that's such a beautiful thing, because one of the things the ancestors teach about what is this experience with this sacred medicine like, they say it's an encounter. It's an encounter with yourself. It's an encounter with creation, and it's an encounter with the creator. And when you share this type of encounter with other individuals, the bonds that are there can fill and foster our natural design for community, 100%.
Yeah, when you say it's an encounter with the creator, I can attest to that. And my hardest part about that is trying to explain to people and be like, no, really, it wasn't my creator. Because with like Taito Juanito, I mean, buddy, I literally died in the lawn, and I was there, but I died, and I was all of a sudden I'm surrounded by angels, and Jesus shows up, and I'm literally have this experience. Like, sometimes you've gone, I remember saying, hey man, I need help. I need fucking help. This is before that ceremony. And during that ceremony, that prayer was answered. And I felt like at some point in your life, you get to the point where it's like, all right, God steps in and goes, okay, enough is enough. We're going to start from scratch here. And you're going to literally be born again. And I had the thought that, they talk about, in the Bible and all this stuff that, you're born again, you're saved. Well, I was literally born on that front lawn and saved but tried to tell people that experience without them looking at you like you're fucking nuts. It's really hard, but I don't know, my spiritual journey has been a wild one, man. And it's I'm on a rocket ship because of this stuff, and it's changed my life, and it's changing other people's lives. And how often is that a pretty common thing for people to have this just crazy life-changing experience?
It's funny when you said God steps in and says enough is enough, but really what happens is you as an individual step up and you say enough is enough. Because the ancestors teach that God is always there waiting for us, right? The issue is that we're always having pretexts, demands. We actually think with closed fists, we won't let go of things and receive new things. Until you're ready. Until you're ready, then you step up and you realize that the creator was always there. Fundamentally, when you ask about is this common, what happens is that we live in a world of society where, again, we're very disassociated from the creator, from source, from the great spirit. A lot of people have a very hard time with the word God. Everything that is associated with God is, and not that religion is wrong, not that religion is bad, no. On the contrary, I've seen religion do good. And I've also seen it do harm when executed or employed for personal gain, for personal power, for personal pleasure, right? And then there's victims of that, people that receive that abuse. And there's so many of them that they become disenchanted and untrusting of the idea of God. But that only happens because we attached God to humans, right? Human actions to then define our relationship with God. And yet there comes a moment in our life when enough is enough, and we realize that I do have a spirit. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, not a human being having a spiritual experience. It's quite different. We are spiritual beings. And when we've had enough of the shame, of the guilt, of the self-loathing, of the self-hatred, we step up into the beginning of that spiritual journey. And that requires something that our ancestors have been saying for thousands of years. You must die to yourself. And that's the experience that you had, Tim. It's what we call a spiritual death. because you have to die in order to be reborn. Because there's accumulations of memories, of traumas, of impacts, of karmas that have to get burnt off, is the easiest way to describe it. There are these weights, these limiting beliefs that are ours, that are ancestral, they're generational, and they have to be removed in order for you to fly, right? Because these weights are keeping you from finding your highest level of fulfillment, of happiness, of joy, of purpose. And so we have this spiritual debt, and that's why the ancestors teach that. If you drank medicine a week ago and you come to drink medicine today, you're a new person. You're drinking for the first time. Because we release spiritually, we die spiritually to things that don't serve us in the medicine when we are ready and willing to let them go. And our Creator receives them. Or whatever name you give to the Creator, God, Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, it doesn't matter. It's just a name. What matters is, how do I develop a personal and intimate relationship with my Creator? Because at the end of the day, the medicine, like many other spiritual tools, is only a tool to help you to come into communion in a loving relationship with the Creator, so that you yourself can know that you are truly worthy of love, that you were created with purpose, and that your life has meaning. And it's a beautiful, empowering journey, my brother, and that takes us from the hurt, blocking, from the pain, to a life of abundant joy. And those aren't just words, those are facts.
Yeah. It's been night and day for me. I mean, I've told people that it was like a light switch. I mean, just that instant of a change in my life. It just, I shared with Ryan earlier, I suffered from PTSD. I'm an Iraq vet. I spent 10 years in law enforcement and, had some tragedies. My brother was killed after coming back from Iraq in a car accident, and just some really terrible things. And, man, it was like I was dead inside. And, when I did that, Yahe with Taida, it was like a reset that just, it healed me. I'm off of, the medications I was on, and that isn't even a big deal to me. It's the connection that I found with God and with spirit, that's what is driving me to do this podcast, to drive me to try to help other guys. Cause man, it's my jam. There's so many guys out there hurting, and I'm just loving it. And I keep sharing this, people are going to be like, man, you're a broken record, cause I talk about it almost every podcast, I love it. And so the work you guys are doing is freaking amazing, man. Ryan, how about you, man? What's some crazy experience or when you first took that medicine, like how did it affect you?
Well, it was incredible how gentle the experience was. A lot of vets go there and they're afraid of what's going to come up. I mean, I did my combat tour in Afghanistan. It was a busy 7 months. We were fighting west of Kandahar. We were stretched pretty thin. We were kind of holding the line, waiting for some American soldiers to show up because, you guys were stretched. We were stretched. The NATO was stretched in Iraq. We were stretched in Afghanistan. So it was tough. And so I thought, going there, well, a little bit of fear, gripped me. Because I don't remember half the shit that happened over there. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, but when I got there and we started, going through things, a lot of things that came up were, from my family, right? And it almost like, and I've heard it described before, that it's like the medicine demands harmony in the family. And it's like, in my experience, and this isn't just my experience, I'm, when you go there, you learn from other people that are doing it as well. You think you're the only one, but why is it going into my family and cleaning up and healing all this relationship with my mother, relationship with my father, not even healing it, just redefining it, redefining that relationship, giving me a new story, right? And it wasn't until much later when I think the medicine felt like I was ready that it brought me back to Afghanistan. So it's a process of that, The first thing it did though, was give me a spiritual death and connect me with the creator. The first thing. That's the first thing that happened to me. And I was like, and I don't describe it to anyone. That's my personal experience. That's mine. But all I'm going to say is it's undescribable. I had this feeling that, oh, I am part of everything. I am not born again. I'm returning to who I've always been. It's a return. And you know, and I'm not saying you can't say born again. Of course, but for me, it was more, it was more powerful in that to say that, no, you've always been perfect. You were, you know, Carlos at one point in time said, you know, God, the creator stopped everything to create you. You know, as busy as the creator is, you're that important. And that resonated with me really. It's like, wow, yeah. And then of course, as soldiers, we're like, well, I'm not perfect. No. Then we get right. So we can't be perfect. Well, it's not, no, we're not talking about, you know, most of us as soldiers were quiet professions, right? We do our job. As a police officer, you do your job. You go, that's my job. I do it. It's not that. It's not gloating. It's not that. It's just reconnecting you with the perfection that you actually are. And I would say, to finish with it, because I hark on it a lot, but you will be connected with your creator, and you will be given tools when you come home to keep that connection alive, to reconnect with that creator on a daily basis, because it's an invitation. You don't want to do it, you don't do it. You want to do it, it's there. It's an invitation, and you can do it not only through prayer. There's all kinds of stuff, you know, that they teach, and maybe, you know, Carlos can get into it, but I focus a lot on the exercise and the nutrition aspect to it. You know, heal the body, heal the mind, right? Like go hard in that direction. And I work with people that can barely leave the house, so I put them on a walking program, or people that may be training way too much, or people that don't know where the middle ground is. So that stuff's very important, that you take what you've learned there and you actually apply it when you go home.
So you're running your retreat is at Carlos's Savage Encounter.
So
at the same location.
I mean, I go to Savage Encounter. It's the same thing. It's the same location. They're you know, we're a team, right? And I run the fitness portion of Operation Purify. And when I can go to Savage Encounter, I go to Savage Encounter and I run the fitness portion of that. And I still involved in my own healing. Like I've had a lot of things come up but every time you go there, you learn something. There's just something new that pops up that you can, you know, try to integrate in your life and help. But you know, I appreciate you saying that, you know, I am the creator of Operation Purify, but really it's a team effort. When we were there, we discussed it. We work as a team. Sure, I'm the military liaison and I bring that life to it. But really, the main focus here is on getting veterans there under the expert guidance of Carlos and John Freddy, because that's where the major healing takes place. It is life altering. It does change you. And I'll go so far as to say that, you know, of course preparation is important. Of course integration is important. But say you don't prepare at all and you go late, you're still going to get it. It's going to give you what you're going to get. But what we're trying to tell you is, through the preparation really is the integration as well. That these are the things that are important that you need to keep with you. So we start early, and that's the stuff that you need to keep with you, well, until you're not breathing on this earth anymore. This isn't, right? This is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's something that you can, these tools are something that you can use on a daily basis without some template that you're going to get sent on an Excel spreadsheet saying, on Monday, do this. On Tuesday, do this. No, on Wednesday, do this. I'm in a position now in my life, after studying and working with the culture, is I have so many tools I can go with my feeling. But one thing that never changes is when I wake up in the morning, I immediately express my gratitude to the Creator through thanking their creator with the breath that I'm giving and going immediately into that, going immediately into prayer and finishing the day with that. Those things don't change for me. I always go there in gratitude. And then sometimes I ask for help. I beg for help. Look, I need help in this relationship right now. I need help with this. Please guide me in this. And twice a day, because fuck, man, we don't know how to surrender. Like, I still struggle with that, but twice a day I surrender to my creator.
Yeah, you just hit a nerve with me. So on Yahweh night, my first time, we were still in the noble silence, and I think we were probably 30 minutes into it, and I was already long gone. And they say, raise your hand if you need help. And I raised my hand and raised my other hand. Nobody's paying attention because I shouldn't be gone, this far yet. And I just screamed, I need help. And they ran over like, what's going on, brother? Outside, and I was out there pretty much the rest of the night in the yard, having a hell of an experience, man. So
yeah,
saying I need help.
But for you to put your hand up and ask for help, I mean, my God, like that alone is worth the ceremony, right? Like, because so many of us, we just don't,
Yeah, and it was more of I needed help, but it was also a spiritual cry, like I need fucking help. And man, Carlos, help me out here, brother. What you got?
No, brother, that's what we're talking about when we it's so funny. We approach the universe, and let's just say universe, so that everybody it's easier to digest through the ears. And we see, I want peace, I want love. And the universe says, what do you have for me? Give me your resentment, give me your anger. No, those are mine, right? That's please understand that I am this way because these things happen to me. Please understand me, right? I'm an asshole, but because of this. And so we don't want to let those identifiers go, those stories go, those wubbies, right? They feel safe. And until we're willing to say, I need help, and we're really willing to release and surrender, we can't receive, right? Hands that are closed cannot be blessed. So we have to be willing. And that's what I said before, that when you were ready and you stepped up, like each and every, when Ryan was ready, when I was ready, and we were finally willing to let go of the things that didn't serve us, to die to the limiting belief, to die to that identity that we've built for ourselves, to let that identity die and allow ourselves to grow back into our essence, to return to what we already are, as Ryan was saying. But until we have that moment of surrender, where enough is enough, and it is like we scream out, I need help. I'm Peter. And that's real, bro. That's real. And from that point on, I will assert your life changed exponentially.
100%. Night and day. Yeah. It was a cry for help to God, and he's helped me, and I can't even put words to it. It's been amazing. And man, I just want to keep helping dudes, and that's what you guys are doing. And I don't know exactly how to do that besides spreading this message to other people, and living a life that people look and go, man, that guy's fucking different, and I'm not perfect, but I've come a long ways. If you knew me before,
Yeah, bro. Each one reach one, we're all on the same path, and if you're a few feet in front of me and you feel strong and firm in your path, strong enough to reach back and pull me forward a little bit without compromising your path, that's just it, brother. We just reach one at a time. It's like the story about that kid and the starfish in the ocean. A low tide had left hundreds or thousands of starfish on the shoreline. Kids running around, chucking them back into the ocean. Old man comes around and says, kid, you can't save them all. And kid says, you're right, but I can save this one. I can save this one. I can save this one. And just one at a time, bro. Just one at a time in our life, right? And you reach back to where we can, and we help that one person go forward a little bit.
Yeah. I've noticed, like Joe Rogan, Sean Ryan, all these dudes, they're talking more and more about spirituality and these healing medications and stuff. And I truly do feel like there's a shift in our culture, in the world, that's happening. And I don't know, you know, what has changed. If people just, enough is enough, we need to get back to spirit and God. But I see this stuff working. And have you guys noticed more and more people coming to you?
What have you done?
I've noticed more of a curiosity to what God is, what the creator is. I've noticed that kind of, so a lot of veterans, they don't know where to start. So, and there's a Carl Jung quote. He says, in times of distress, it's not a bad idea to return to the religion of your upbringing because it's familiar, So a lot of us grew up in Christian. I'm like, well, go back to church, go read the Bible. Like that's a start. That's what happened to me. I started there. And with diving into the culture, I have a much better and more open understanding of Christianity than I ever have. Because again, it's a path up the mountain, but we're all heading for the same peak, right? And we're all carrying things. And so that approach for me with veterans has been really good. And then you get veterans that are say, well, I'm spiritual, not religious. And I'm like, well, so religious people aren't spiritual? It's like, so it's like, don't judge it. Where do you want to do? Well, I want to study Buddhism. Well, then go to Buddhism. Well, I want to study, then go to that. But overall, there's more of a curiosity for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that a couple of years ago, the biggest question that people would bring was around purpose. What's my purpose? And it's still very common because we all want our purpose. But what has superseded that, like Ryan said, is a curiosity about God. Most people today ask, what is God? I want to meet God. How do I get to know God? And that's really important because when you really ask of God, you're going to discover that there is a creator. Again, whatever name you give it. When you finally come with an open heart to the creator, and in your own words, you ask something simple. Creator, you exist. I want to know you in my life. I want to see you in my life. When you're sincere about that question and you really place that question to the universe, get ready because the answer's coming. It's written, if you ask and you seek, it shall be shown to you. It shall be open to you. That stuff's biblical. Whether you believe in the Bible or not, it's universal code that the creation that seeks the creator will find for sure.
Yeah, it's, man, like I said, I can't really put words to it, but my dad was a pastor. And so I was raised in the church and raised on the Bible, Christian pastor and everything. But I spent the majority of my childhood just trying to put on a smile on my face so that we didn't get in trouble at church. I wasn't listening to what was being taught, that closely. It was just like, shit, we got to be at church again Monday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Monday. It was all the time. And so, and then, I just kind of stopped reading the Bible or stopped doing any of this stuff because it was just like that was forced on me for so long. And finally, it literally took ayahuasca for me to get that connection back to God and go, oh shit, I better, I always believe in God and a higher power, but it wasn't like a knowing, and
Right.
yeah. And so there's a difference between believing in God and knowing God.
Experiencing God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference. I think, Tim, something that's really important to clarify is that plant medicine, ayahuasca, yahe, sacred mushrooms, peyote, cacao, cannabis is a sacred plant. They're all sacred and they're all valid. What really makes the difference more than the experience and the journey that you have when you're directly connecting to the plant medicine is how you apply this in your daily life. The ancestors teach that the real ceremony is our daily life, that the greatest prayer we can offer is how we live our daily life. What I think, what I speak, and how I act, the choices that I make. And you can have the most amazing plant medicine journey. You can have the most amazing Yahe journey with all of the colors and all of the celestial fireworks. And unless you take that and apply it in your daily life, and you make the choices to develop the tools, the daily prayer, the exercise, the nutrition, the water, the sleep, the communion with nature, the working on expressing yourself through kindness, through compassion, through wisdom, using the spiritual tools that are there for you, then none of it matters. It really doesn't. I don't want anyone to see this and think, oh, this is the magic bullet. No, it is a powerful solution. It will change things in your life in ways that cannot be described. And yet you still have to be the steward and the one that's responsible for walking in the proverbial shoes of your life.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier with the experience. Get ready. Like it gets a bit harder, and that's okay, because especially if we're speaking to the veteran community, we do hard things, man. Like come on, like you're tough enough to manage, what you've managed. You're tough enough to get through this. It's don't be afraid of it. You will be like there's always the I'm not going moment. The first time there's always that but and we all know that through our military experience is that we don't go around obstacles. We go through them. We go through them for a reason. And I think maybe to bring a lot of this home is I nicknamed Carlos and John Freddy our spiritual pathfinders. We all have respect for pathfinders, especially the ones in World War II that went in long before the first ones in, right? They're like, no, really the first ones in are the pathfinders. But they don't do the fight, right? They get us on the objective. They may provide some flank security. But and that's what these guys do. They pull you in, they guide you. And when you're stuck, when you're having a moment, they're there to help you on top of that. So it's got a nice little ring to it, the spiritual pathfinder, leading us in the charge. They'll open the door, but they want you to go through it first. Yeah.
So one of the things, I feel like, and I've heard this over and over again, is you kind of need to be called to the medicine, and I learned that in my life. I mean, it was a calling. And as soon as I said, yeah, I'm going to do this, shit started happening in my life. Things started changing. But I do have friends and veterans who could definitely use this. But, they don't want to do it, but they frickin' need it, or they're scared to do it. And I don't know how to I don't want to convince anybody to do this. I want them to want to do it. Is there any kind of guidance you guys would give if somebody's watching this and they're curious, but they haven't, pulled that trigger?
Yeah, for me, first of all, it's beautiful and it's commendable to want to help people, to support people. However, the only way we can really convince anyone of doing anything, at least with the plant medicine context, is through the example of my life. Only them seeing and observing and coming to a conclusion for themselves will that convince them. And the grandparents teach that it shouldn't be cerebral. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm curious about this in my mind. It should really be a yearning, a calling, an intuitive guide or pull that you feel from your heart space, from your spirit, drawn almost to this, right? It could be a spiritual curiosity, but not something of the mind, right? It really, and you'll feel it. You'll know when it's. it's very natural to be apprehensive. Um, not everybody is ready to heal. Not everybody's ready to walk beyond the shell or the cocoon of their pain. We become comfortable with our pain. We become comfortable with the mental prison that we create for ourselves and the limitations that we impose on ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves. And it's not until that we're incredibly uncomfortable with this and ready to finally get up and do something about it, right? And then you'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel in your heart. And what I would say is the first thing to do is just to reach out to the universe, reach out to the creator and the great spirit and ask, where do I step into my healing? Where do I go? Is it Yahe and Ayahuasca? Should I go to Rhythmia? Should I come to Savage Encounter? Should I come to Operation Purify? Should I start with breath work? Should I get some, what's this thing called yoga? Or what's this thing called Reiki? Because we're not here to promote plant medicine is the way of healing. The ancestors teach that plant medicine is just one door of many doors for healing. What we most yearn for is for people to step into their healing, to discover that they're worthy of a relationship with their creator. And there's a lot of doors that you can step through. For us here, the three of us, that door has been specifically Yahe, right? That's been the big game changer for us. And that's why I've been doing this for 13 years, because it has been, in my experience, Yahe, it is one of the most powerful options that we have as a human race to really accelerate our evolution towards life, towards love, towards compassion, to really become humans, right? Hues of light, embodying this body of ours. Yeah, my brother. What about you, Ryan? What do you think, bro?
I think some advice, because I went through that whole process. Got to get veterans. They got to do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm leading Operation Purify. Let's go. We're used to sticking square pegs in round holes. Let's do it. But that process taught me that it's not up to me. I have nothing to do with it. I present, here's the plan. Here's the logistics. Here's the support. The rest, they want to talk about it. They're on the fence. We're here for that. But that final decision has to be with them. I mean, you force someone, it's hard enough as is. If someone's not there voluntarily, it's kind of like having a conscripted military, right? It changes things, So I really went through that process myself, and you being a leader in the community, it's just advice that you do the work, and then rest assured at night, it's the medicine, it's the culture, it's everything around it. That's you talked about a calling. Yeah, it has to be this strong calling that's pulling you from your center, and that's what happened to me. It pulled me to Rhythmia, and then Yahe pulled me to Colombia. Right.
So I would just say, so people that want to go are interested in this. I mean, what am I missing besides people want to go and how to sign up? Is there something that I have not brought up that you guys are like, the people need to know this?
No, well, here's what they need to know. They need to know that the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of myself or Ryan is on Instagram. You can go to Savage Encounter on Instagram or Operation Purify on Instagram. And there you can just reach out to us via DM. That's the fastest way. We'll book a call, answer your questions, your concerns. And if you're really ready, yeah, we can book you to the next event that we have. We have them all year round. So, I mean, by the time of this recording, the next one will be April 5th of 2025 coming up, right? But even if you're visiting this afterwards, just reach out to us, because there's events happening every 90 days or so. Well, we have an encounter on Operation Purify taking place. And that's the easiest thing, brother. If you feel the slightest question, anything, right? Like a little tickle anywhere in your body, bro, reach out to us on Instagram at Operation Purify or Savage Encounter, and let's just talk. That's all it is. It's just a conversation to see where you're at and how we can support you in your healing journey.
And as far as doing what you're doing, you just keep doing what you're doing. This is how I found out through a podcast about Savage Encounter. And through that podcast, Operation Purify was born. So it's like you keep doing what you're doing. This is exactly what veterans need. Oh, there's some information here from a trusted source, and the rest is up to them. You know, we're easy to reach.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, and you know, if there's any way I can help you guys, please reach out to me anytime. I love what you guys are doing. You're helping the world, not just veterans, not just everybody. You're healing people, and you're doing God's work. And so I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Tim. I just wanted to be before finishing, I just wanted to say that we're also opening Operation Purify up in 2025 to family. So if there's any kids out there, spouses, like we're opening up to anyone that's been affected, because you know we obviously see the effects on family. You know, there's parents out there who have lost their only child to war that are 20 years later, 10, 15 years later, still struggling with that. So if they're called to the medicine, they're more than welcome.
Right on. Carlos, thank you so much for joining me. Ryan, I appreciate you guys, man. I love what you're doing, and I'll tag you in everything and post this all over the place. I've been excited to talk to you guys, and you didn't let me down, so I appreciate you.
Tim, thank you for your time. Thank you for your smile. If you want to think, hey, how do I help? You can share this podcast with a man or a veteran in your life. If you want to help more, we have scholarships for the veterans, and we're looking to extend those scholarships to the family members that are coming. We have a 501c3 called HEAL, Heaven and Earth Ancestral League. If you feel called to make a tax-deductible donation to us, you can, and support in that way. 100% of that money goes to the veterans as well. Thank you so much to you listening at home, and to you, Tim. May the Creator always bless you, and may the love of our Divine Mother and Sacred Father always be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.